Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's Better on Draft.
We are live, episode 346 of the Better on Draft podcast. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I truly appreciate. For those listening live, we appreciate you. Go definitely subscribe to our YouTube. Follow us on all of our podcasts. Of course, go listen to last week's episode with the Stumblebum Brewery. Matt Bush coming back for an episode where we held his feet to the fire regarding his decision to trade Dylan Larkin or want to trade Dylan Larkin, as well as Matt Bush's apparent obsession with waffle fries. So plenty to listen to on that episode. My name is Ken. I am drinking from New Holland Brewery the Zeppelin whiskey in my nice little Dragon's Milk glass. Rob, what do you got over there?
Today I have a Midwest IPA from Great Lakes Brewing.
Solid choice out of Ohio. Wendy, you got a different background today. What are you trying to pour in your hotel cup?
It has a little mustache on it. I will say I do really miss glass cups in a hotel. But I have a Old Nation Tart Strawberry M43. And
Dan representing the last of a dynasty Arizona Coyotes shirt. What are you? Looks like he's frozen, so he might not be there anymore. We'll give it a second. Well, Dan decided not to pay the internet bill, but he'll be back here in a minute or two.
I'm gonna guess he's got a vodka soda.
That's probably a very good guess, or something barrel aged.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's one of the two. He definitely loves his vodka soda. Thank you so much for joining us at our new start time at 8:30. If you are live or not live, you can always join us on Kick, Twitch, Facebook, at Better on Draft for all of those. Twitter, X, we're live on as well. So you can, of course, join us there. With that in mind, we do not have an interview this week. We will be actually at Arctic Circle next or tomorrow doing a show. So there's going to be an extra show coming out into the feed here soon. But with no interview today, we're going to kind of go over, catch up on some craft beer news, including the Craft Brewers Conference and World Beer Cup. Rob, what happened this past week and a half?
Yeah, well, the Craft Brewers Conference and the World Beer Cup, just wrapped up. They announced all their winners and their facts and figures. I was looking at some of the stuff, and the numbers are slightly down in 2024 as far as beers entered in breweries, but it's still 9,000 beers were entered in 110 categories, which seems like a pretty good showing to me. They had 280 judges, which is nice. I've got a good beer friend who is a beer judge, and he looks forward to these things because it's a good chance for the judges to, get out there and compare notes and catch up on stuff. And so it seemed like a good time. It sounded like a good time. But of course, the part that is the most interesting to us consumers is how did our breweries do? Or how did our states do in the World Beer Cup? So I pulled out Indiana, Michigan, and Arizona specifically because those are the states we represent or represented. Hopefully Dan comes back and he can talk about his Arizona breweries. But I can get started with the Indiana one. So we had 5 medals out of the World Beer Cups this year, which I thought was pretty nice. We had Upland Brewing won the Belgian-style wit beer, which with their Upland wheat, which brings me to a very important part of beer judging and the things to consider when we talk about beer judging. And that is that the beers get judged in whatever style they are entered in. It doesn't matter how the brewer brewed them or what people think of them. They get entered in what they get entered in.
We've seen plenty of beer festivals, obviously with Craft Brewers Conference and the World Beer Cup. They do follow the BJCP rules and regulations, which means that, it's not necessarily the best beer, but it's probably the most closest to style. Because there was plenty of beers. The one time I actually went to World Expo of Beer, where the SRM color was so off point that it almost disqualified the beer. So it could have tasted great, but if the color's not right, the flavor's not right, like there's a lot of things that can hurt a beer, as well as sometimes it's the luck of the draw when you get your beer tasted versus when other beers get tasted, especially when you're in the palate destroyers like the double IPA categories. But Upland Wheat one, what else went on?
Yeah. So the Upland Wheat one, I'm kind of surprised it won in the Belgian style wit beer, because I would never have placed it as Belgian style wit beer, but it's a good wheat beer. Gumball Head from Three Floyds won, and that one was entered as an English ale, which I had always seen as an American wheat. So, or a pale ale, either one of those is normal, but it got a bronze for an English ale. Metazoa did really well. They had two beers that won. I'm going to start with their bronze, the Rutrow, which was an ESB, and they do make excellent ESBs. I will regularly go there for that. But their gold medal winner was in the German style Bock or Maibach, and it is Ain't Afraid of No Goats, which I think is a wonderful name for a beer. And the silver in that same category was from Moontown Brewing, which is up the road for me. I quite enjoy them. That one was their Schoolhouse Bock, which I don't think I've had, but now I need to get up there and have it. So that wraps up Indiana. Those were our 5 medals. Metazoa got 2 medals. I'm pretty excited about that. They're a local Indianapolis brewery.
Oh, well, before we continue, let's see if we guessed correctly what Dan is drinking. Dan, what are you drinking?
Yeah, shout out to my modem first off for deciding to reset at the worst time. Did you guess Old Rasputin?
We did not know. We guessed either a vodka soda or a barrel-aged beer.
No, I skipped the barrel age. I wanted the Old Rasputin. Stick with the 9% instead of the 12 to 15.
Drinking light today, you know.
Yeah, well, I got plans later, so you don't want to get shit-faced at 5 o'clock.
That's why we do the show at 8:30 Eastern. What other medals were won in Michigan and Arizona there, Rob?
So Michigan, the breweries I don't know as well. Maybe Wendy knows a couple of these breweries, or Dan. But Tilted Access got a silver in the American wheat beer for Lunar Fallout.
I believe that they have some good beers.
So where are they out of?
They're out of Lapeer. For those who are in Michigan, depending on how you're getting north, if you take 24 north heading towards the Thumb, that's basically where you're going to run into them up by 69.
Okay, gotcha.
So middle of nowhere, close to Flint.
I wish I had looked into this more, but in the experimental India Pale Ale, Broadleaf Brewery and Spirits won with something called Kumi Lizard Invasion, which, if you're going to name an experimental IPA, that's a pretty good name for one.
Yeah, they're out of West Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be in Grand Rapids on Wednesday. I might drop by and see if I can get some to give it a taste.
There you go. The Scotch Ale, there was a bronze at Silver Harbor Brewing for the Wobbly Traveler. That one's a tough one for me.
Yeah, that's basically right on Lake Michigan over in Benton Harbor, I think.
Okay.
Bring your concealed carry when you go to that one.
I don't think you can bring a gun into a bar, Dan.
Oh, sorry.
Not in Michigan.
Not in Michigan. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think if you can't even have like a unlocked gun if you've been drinking in your car. Like you gotta lock that shit up. The only reason I know that is my friend got arrested for having an unlocked gun in his car while he had drank at a bar right before. What other medal winners are there?
Yeah, I tend to like Scotch Ale, so I might have to look for that Wobbly Traveler sometime.
I'm pretty sure Silver Harbor might be a brew pub. So you might have to actually go to the brewery itself.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Let's see. Twist his arm too hard.
That's right. I grabbed Arizona as well. So the Contemporary American Style Lager. I need to look that one up because that sounds like extra words. But that was 12 West Brewing with their Zona.
Yeah, good old downtown Mesa.
Okay. In the Urban Spice Beer, this one's spelled out OHSO Brewery, or OSO.
Oh, OSO. OSO.
All right. For Sudoku.
Yeah, they make some interesting beers. They got a million locations around here.
This was their Gilbert or Gilbert location. I don't know how fancy they are in Arizona.
Gilbert, yes.
Okay.
Like Gilbert Godfrey.
Okay, I was thinking Gilbert Arenas. Is he still playing basketball?
I don't know. Didn't he have to leave the league after he had a gun? We're going back to guns again. Like had a gun in his locker.
Just can't get away from firearms. Might as well call this, it brings a new meaning to
2 minutes.
Brings a new meaning to barrel aged.
Yes. I'm gonna need more beer for that.
What else we got from Arizona?
We've got the International Light Lager, Pedal House Brewery. They have their Day Drinker Light Lager.
Yeah, downtown Tempe and downtown Phoenix. Yep.
All right. And then the Oatmeal Stout category, which is kind of a cool category to get a medal in. They got a bronze. Goldwater Brewing got for Oats McGoats, which is another great name.
It's a good one. That's probably the only one I've had on there. They're out of Scottsdale. Okay.
So kind of around the state.
Oh, around the Phoenix area.
Okay.
You could get up to all those breweries in a matter of 20 minutes, probably.
Well, that sounds like a good
without
trip,
stopping.
I was gonna say, yeah, the one time I met Dan up in Phoenix, we didn't really get a chance to go to too many breweries because we did a live show at, what was the name of the brewery in Tempe?
The
Shop Beer Co. Which you can go check out that episode. And then we went to like this dive bar that I remember you telling me like it was like supposed to be on like Kitchen Rescue or Bar Rescue or something like that. Like the kitchen was that disgusting. But the beer was cheap, so we didn't care.
That somebody else claimed that. Someone else never tried the food there. That was Tempe Tavern. I was actually there a couple of weeks ago. It's still the same. It's just all college kids. So yeah.
Yeah, between that bar and the one bar over by the basketball arena that we went to that had like $6 Founders Old Curmudgeon. Better Half, yeah.
Better Half, yes.
Oh, that's gonna make for a short night for me.
Well, we were taking public transpo, so it didn't matter at that point.
It's good. Pour yourself onto the transportation and get you home.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, it's a good thing Dan was there because I probably would have got myself lost somehow.
Oh, easily. Yeah, it's easy.
I am excited. The Craft Brewers Conference is in Indianapolis next year, so I am looking forward to that next April.
Yeah, I know we wanted to go this year to Vegas, but as things kind of transpired, life happened. It was kind of hard to really make the trip. But I think next year we'll definitely have a presence, even just to check it out, walk around, maybe bring our audio equipment and try to do some video there, some audio there, get some fun content over there. So that'll be exciting since it's only a 5-hour drive or 4 hours now that I'm in Ypsi.
It's a 1 hour bike ride for me.
Oh. So was that all the medals that happened in our 3 states?
Those were the medals in the 3 states, and I'll point out that Indiana won with 5, so we win.
You mentioned this year that there were less entries than last year or recently. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I'm not sure. There were even more categories. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if it was being in Vegas. Is it harder to ship to Vegas?
Usually when those types of things happen, there are a lot of benefactors, like organizations that help get your beer out, typically brewers guilds or distributors that work with other distributors to get in there, to where because these aren't like public facing drinking presentations, so like you're not taking it to a beer festival or something like that, like it's a lot easier to kind of do a one-off. We've had a few of them here in Michigan. Like we have World Expo Beer, obviously, but when B Nectar had their anniversary party and they had like Cigar City before Cigar City was actually here in Michigan, they had Funky Buddha up here. They had a lot of amazing breweries up for that one festival, which blows my mind that they couldn't sell enough tickets to keep that festival going year after year. That is you want to talk about whale chasing. Some of those beers that were there were pretty crazy, but I think that kind of takes back into the whole Michiganders love their Michigan beer and only Michigan beer. So, but I mean, any other thoughts on that as to why maybe there's not that many beers getting sent to these? Maybe it's lack of marketing, lack of money, lack of time, effort. What do you guys think?
Well, I know we've had guests in the past that talked about that, at least for GABF. A lot of times, even a brewery would get a cold truck and have people bring their beer so they could get it out to it. As far as sending as many, I'm not quite sure. But also, I pointed out, if you go back to GABF last year, there were significantly less people there as well, as far as, the guests or attendees were. So, I mean, maybe it is a sign that there are fewer and fewer people drinking beer. So, and there is a cost to doing that, to getting in there and getting everything out. So that could play a part into it.
Yeah, the amount of money it costs for some of these breweries to enter these categories. Like there's a brewery or beer competition. I remember talking about it, I think, on the show, and like the person's out in like a house in West Bloomfield, Michigan, and like people just send the beers to him, and it's like $100 per beer to enter the competition. And you have to send in like a 6-pack of each beer and like get it there. And, if you want it cold there, it's how he does it. It blows my mind. I don't know who it is. Obviously we're in the wrong game, because we should have been doing this for the last 8 years.
Why are we doing that?
The Better On Draft. You know why? Because we don't have good palates. And I am a horrible judge of beer.
Speak for yourself.
I do. I do speak for myself.
You said we.
The royal we. It could just be me. I mean, this whole show is mine, obviously.
Jesus.
That's a bingo square. Let's take a drink.
Here come the 1-star reviews.
That's fine. Have you guys might as well just change the name of the show. That would have been a great April Fool's joke, is having like changing the name of the show and everything. But I feel like it would have taken me forever to like change it back. And then I really would have looked like an asshole.
Yeah. Oh man, were you back? I can't remember. Were you back by you came back at the end of March. That would have been actually pretty funny. Yeah. Ken's show.
I was going to call it All About Ken.
All About Ken.
Oh, that's even better.
What else has been going on within the craft beer news? Has anybody gone to any breweries lately? Has anybody had a fun experience they want to share with the live listeners? If you guys are listening live, obviously feel free to chat in the chat rooms. We'd love to hear from you, talk to you. But Dan, I mean, what have you been up to in the world of drinking beer?
I mean, I was at the Shop Beer Co. speaking about them back on Monday. And I'll tell you what, if you remember how small that place is, really small building, a lot of outside. It's not the first time I've been there in the summer. Not really a great place to go. Oh, it's spring. But when it's 90 plus degrees outside and they're having trivia and the place is packed, just not a good place. You really need to have some of those misters or something, because the only AC is in the building that has like 15 seats. But the beer's still amazing. They make that coffee brown both on.
We will never know.
And we'll never know about the coffee brown beer. I mean, Wendy, what about you? Well, Dan goes and takes out a gun probably and shoots his moto.
Well, I got a chance to go to Cadillac Straits Brewing for the first time. I went to try their DGPO the Girls Pine Out Women's International Brew Day beer. That was pretty good. They actually had a gluten-free Hefeweizen, which, it's a wheat beer. So how is it gluten-free? It actually tasted pretty close to an actual Hef. I was pretty impressed with it. Enough that I told people that I know who are gluten-free that they should go and give it a try. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Did they say how they did it?
I didn't have a chance to talk to him. This was on like a Sunday afternoon. So
if I had to guess, when we had Cellerman's on, or no, Brewery Becker on years and years and years ago, he talked about an enzyme that they add into the beer that basically deglutenizes it. So it's probably gluten-free, but it'll still destroy anyone that truly has celiacs.
Sorry, guys, I was busy shooting my modem.
That enzyme, I know a lot of breweries that use it. I'm pretty sure they used to, at least. Batch put it in their beers too. But I don't think it eliminates all the gluten.
It does not. No, you cannot legally call it gluten-free. Dan, we're only laughing because we said that you could gun to the modem.
I could still hear you before.
Okay.
That's why I did that.
So Wendy, you went to Cadillac Straits, had a gluten-free Heffa, enjoyed it. Anywhere else you've been to lately?
No, I did go to my first study group for the certified Cicerone exam, and that was a very interesting experience. I'm really excited about that.
Is that the level above certified beer server, or is that for the certified? Okay.
Yep. I've already got the certified beer server, so I'm working on the second level now.
How far do you plan on going, Wendy?
Let me get through certified server or certified Cicerone, and then I'll tell you if I'm going to go any farther. Okay, I'm really worried about the tasting because since I had COVID, my senses are out of whack and I've had to start relearning things. So I'm practicing tasting a lot. Shocker.
Is the study group, is that just a bunch of flights that you guys are sitting around and drinking?
No, so I figured it out. There's 87 beer styles that you have to know inside and out because they could ask a question about it. History, SRM, ABV, all of it. So there's a lot more to it. There's 5 sections to the exam. So you have to know server stuff, you have to know food pairings, you have to know about the styles, and you have to be able to do the tasting. So there's a lot of information involved. It's a lot of studying.
And it's $400 to take, and if you don't pass, you have to pay to retake it.
Pay to retake it. Yes.
Yeah, that is definitely an investment of time, effort, and money for sure. But when do you plan on taking the test?
My goal, I would love to do it at the end of the year, but I gave myself a year deadline to take the test.
Okay.
Because like I said, it is a lot of information and I have to relearn so much of the tasting notes because of my senses are all out of whack still. They did tell us that the amount of knowledge that you have to have from the certified server to the certified Cicerone exams is like going from kindergarten to high school. So
yeah, the CBS is basically a general knowledge test that a lot of even like beer bars, breweries and stuff require you to have. Like if you wanted to work at 8 Degrees, they require you to have a CBS, which the test itself I think is pretty cheap. It's probably because it's online and everything like that.
It's like $130. I got a scholarship through Fermenta.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so the certified Cicerone is like $800 total, and then the next price, I think it's $1,000 for the advanced Cicerone, and you have to do it at like a specific facility. So if you actually go on the website, and then Master Cicerone, I mean, to be honest, there's not that many Master Cicerones out there.
And you have to do the tasting in person. You can take the test online. So if there's not a tasting exam offered in Michigan, I would have to fly somewhere else to do it.
That's not so bad either.
I know, twist my arm, right?
Yeah, you do like to travel. It's the same with as you guys kind of know, I became a bowling coach, a high school bowling coach, and you have to go to different states and stuff to get the different levels of courses. So sooner or later, I'm probably going to have to go to Reno for the next level. Man. I know, my heart.
Is that where the giant bowling alley, like multiple floor?
Yeah, Reno's got a big one and Vegas does have a big one. But what a friend of ours who was on like the original episodes of Better on Draft, Ryan Brown, was telling me that a lot of those casinos are starting to add bowling alleys.
Yeah, a lot of the off-strip ones had them already.
Mm-hmm.
So if it makes sense to get them on the strip, because bowling is kind of coming back.
Yeah, there's a lot of places, as well as when you have these online personalities like Packy, Darren Tang, all these bowlers. Wendy, I don't know if you're laughing at me, which is fine. I can nerd out about it.
No, I'm laughing at the mustache on my cup.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
But these guys bowl out of Vegas, kind of like how a lot of fighters move to Vegas to fight out of Vegas. So we do have a question in the chat from YouTube, but I want to go with Rob real quick. Rob, have you been anywhere? I know you played Star Wars trivia recently.
And we won on Star Wars trivia on Tuesday. Yeah, absolutely. Up at Traders Brewing, my usual Tuesday haunt. And we did trivia the Saturday before downtown at Brewlink Brewing. We did not win that one. But yeah, those are my 2 brewery experiences recently.
I got a chance to host NFL draft trivia at Batch Brewing in Detroit. There was a mix of like people who came for the trivia and people who were there for the regular trivia, not realizing it was NFL based trivia. But still the best team name I've had. And I mean, this is going like with other groups too. There was a team that they called themselves Sioux Girls 1 Cup. And I just couldn't say it without laughing. But from the chat, and I think all of us could probably answer this because I know, Rob, you come up to Michigan a lot. Just moved to the Grand Rapids area. What are your top 3 breweries in the area? I'll kind of start. I'll name 2 right away. Three Gatos is definitely an amazing brewery, especially if you're looking for true to style German style beers. Like their Kolsch is really, really good. Their food is very good. And they're a little bit newer on the block. So you can kind of get in there and not have to worry about a crowd. And the other one, which I'm going to have to remember because we just talked about how they moved, but Jade and James, solid underrated brewery and winery. They're at their sister location right now. But Jade and James is definitely one. But Rob, I mean, you come up to Grand Rapids once or twice a year. What's your favorites that you like to go to?
Yeah, so to kind of couch that, I'm always at the convention center. They do a board game thing. I highly recommend it. Grand Con, Labor Day weekend at the Betty Voss Convention Center there. It's really fun. But so we stay generally within walking distance, sort of. But there's on the main drag right by the convention center, if you head across the river, is a German restaurant whose name I wish I could remember right now, but they make their own beer. Also good German style beer within walking distance of the convention center. So it has that going for it. And it's part of the social district. So you can get your beers to go and then go drink with Geraldine Ford if you wanted to, or Betty Ford rather. I guess it's Betty Ford over there in front of the library. And there's a Jolly Pumpkin. There's a New Holland brew pub in that area too. And a bit farther north, it's a long walk, but we've done it, is the Mitten. And they do pizza flights and beer flights. And
their pizza's amazing.
That. Yeah, they do good, cool toppings on their pizzas too.
They also have the peanuts and Cracker Jack, which is amazing. I would have listed Mittens too if you hadn't done it.
Well, we lost.
I can't hear you, Ken.
I was going to say, what about you, Wendy?
So City Built for one. Definitely go there. Their food is amazing. Their beer is amazing. I can't say enough good things about them. I believe they're still in part of the district where you can take your beer outside too. I don't know if that's still there. It's been a little while since I've actually got to drink beer in the brewery. I also really like Lost Art, which is a little bit outside of Grand Rapids. It's in Walker, but it's right there, Grand Rapids adjacent. And Pink Barrel Cellars. They have some sleepy good beers, man. It was a pomegranate, not a pomegranate triple. They had a beer there that was so delicious. I kept going back for it at the Summer Beer Festival. It was so good. So they're sleepy. They have like a farm and a little restaurant there, and you can get fresh donuts, and it's a really cool place to go. And their beer was really good. So I would suggest heading there. And they're right down the street from Perrin. So
Dan, what about you? It's been a minute probably since you've been to the Grand Rapids area. You're muted, Dan.
Yeah, pulling a Ken. I had to actually Google which breweries are out there to tell you which ones I like. First off, I agree with Rob. The Mitten. Shout out to Jeff Williams making some good beer out there. Brewery Vivint. They had that hoppy red. I don't know if they still make it. Ken, do you remember the name of it?
Yeah, the Big Red Cock.
Big Red Cock.
Yeah, I just wanted you to say it. And then and then you're gonna hate me, but Founders. They make really good beer.
I mean, I don't think anybody disagrees with the quality of beer Founders makes. I think people disagree with the quality of business decisions Founders makes.
Right.
They are
also an easy walk from the convention center.
Yeah, yes. The other one that I wanted to mention, which is kind of not off the beaten path, but Speciation, which is out there as well. They make amazing wild ales over there, great wine, great selections. But to be honest, I really don't think there's any bad breweries out in that area. Like the venue and the area itself, as well as when you get a little bit like sprawling, like you go south and you got Brass Ring, you go north and you've got Cedar Springs. You start moving towards Walker and there's more breweries in Walker. That's where Lost Art is, by the way. Which I don't know if you follow Lost Art on Instagram, but like half the stuff that they post up there don't even look like beer. They look like something from a Jamba Juice. Like it's so colorful and so thick, and I'm like, how is this beer?
I do have some speciation in my cellar because every time I go up there, I also manage at least one beer trade. During the weekend.
We were crushing at the beginning of COVID speciation because they were delivering to us. Mm-hmm. So they would have like each day would be a certain area and you can get your beer delivered. So we would get the delivery for the Arbor Ipsy area and, buy 2 cases. And then every, 2 or 3 weeks they'd come in and try. Through the chat, we have Muttbone, who is in Twitch, saying City Built got a 13-hour Imperial Stout in the glass. Wendy knows it's good. Bats McGee says Arvon Mitten and City Built is his 3. Chris Connors saying beer and donuts. You got to come to the east side and go to Blake's. Blake's has amazing beer. Obviously, their donuts, especially if you come there in the fall. It's a great place to be. A donut beer like Rogue is horrible, says Ryan Clark. I know Blake's does make a donut beer, but they also used to at the beer festival, if you got one of their beers, would come with a donut. So you could get a donut and beer on top of just the regular beer. Muttbone back is saying Gray Line is another great brewery in Grand Rapids, which I do agree. And I don't know, are they also a distillery or is there a distillery, I think, right by there as well, which is really, really good. Chris Connor saying going to Speciation on Tuesday. They have vinyl night there where you can bring your own records to play.
Oh, that's amazing.
Dan, you're
treats for that.
Have you bought anything recently? We just had Record Day 2 weekends ago after our last show.
I don't typically go to Record Day because a lot of gimmick type of records, at least I feel like, that make people go get in line. I've got some good hardcore records, which is what made me laugh about that. Bring your own vinyl. We'll have people jumping off the bar into the crowd before you know it. But yeah, I've gotten some good records. Some surprising ones from bands I never heard of, and some really crappy ones from bands I never heard of. Meat Puppets, actually, a pretty interesting album I just got from them. They have a newer album, but other than that, yeah, a lot of good things. I don't know. I should probably start up the beer and metal soon. Can go over some of those. I've got a lot to go through.
Ryan Clark is saying, considering a majority of his vinyl is punk rock, he can agree with that. I just started getting into vinyl myself. And I guess this is more of a question for you, Dan, because I bought a record. It was a two LP record, and both records were warped and unable to be played.
Oh no! You can try putting something heavy on them.
So we've
and flatten them.
We've tried the flattening method for a different record, which was skipping just the first track of the album. But for this one, like, I reached out to Dearborn Music. Shout out to Dearborn Music. I said both these records, like, these were new in the box. like unopened, brand new.
Still in the wrap and everything.
Yeah, still in the wrap and not working. I'm like, you guys got like, this isn't my job to flatten the record. I should at least get it. And I said, well, so I was very nice because I did all that research too. And I'm like, you know, I know there's machines that do it too, that flatten it out a lot nicer, that like apply heat and make it nice and flat.
That's what you need.
And they said that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, no, they said that they don't do that, but they'll return the album, and you can either return it for the same album, which they didn't have another copy of. So I just got store credit and just wound up spending another $50 there while I was there. So I'm pretty sure they won on that trade.
In the shopping or in the shipping, it probably had heat applied to it at some point enough to warp it like that, which is most likely what happened.
It was very sad because it was the 311 93 to 03 greatest hits album, which I had just started listening to their NPR gig for 311 Day, which they did the Tiny Desk. And I'm like, oh, I want to go listen to this, listen to the music and own it. So bought it. Both albums were bad. Like if one album was bad, I probably would have just bit the bullet, did the glass plates, squeeze in between two glass plates, put something heavy on it and go.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it did not. After both of them not worked, I'm like, there was something wrong with the print or something wrong with that. So yeah, shout out to Dearborn Music. Gave me full store credit. Didn't question me on anything. They were just like, all right, no problem. Tell me what happened. And it wasn't just one song. Like it skipped the entire time.
Oh, that's the worst. I will tell you this. Easy way to find things like that. And I know we're getting into music way too much probably. If you go on Discogs and buy it there, look it up and buy it there, you're buying from like independent record shops where they just ship it to you. So if you can't find something, jump on there.
Yeah, I've definitely had my own Discogs account and have been looking at stuff that I want to buy, but I want to make sure I save money to, not go crazy into it.
It's easy to.
Well, what's weird is that like I want to buy albums of like the old first CDs that I got. Like you can laugh at me all you want. I want to buy the Fastball All the Pain Money Can Buy album. Like great album, solid music, and I'm like, oh, I just can't try to get into it. Chris Connor's saying sorry for it's not a. Yeah. There hasn't been much in the craft beer world this past 2 weeks, and without a guest, there isn't really too much to be sorry for sure. I wound up getting. I'll go on.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I want to hear because there's a pivot a little bit.
Yeah, I wound up getting Childish Gambino, "Awaken My Love," which is his newer album. Which I guess he's actually coming out with an even newer album here soon, which I'm kind of excited for. And I want to say I bought one more album and I just can't remember what it is off the top of my head because I just kind of kept playing that one album I bought.
So I just thought of a beer topic pretty good to talk about, using music and beer. Does the type of music you're listening to affect the type of beer you're going to drink? And I'll go first. Perfect example. If I'm somewhere like a craft beer bar, they're playing, some house music, some, music like that. I'm going to drink probably something similar. If I'm at like a hardcore show or something heavy, I'm probably busting out the PBR. It's just that feel. It's just kind of what you're in the mood for at that time, especially if it's like I was at the Anthrax show last year, everyone's saying you're too old to get in the mosh pit and people older than me were in there. So, it's just that kind of event. So I'm curious if that's the same thing for you guys.
Are mosh pits still the same as they were when we were younger?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hardcore. If you've been to a hardcore show, it's just as wild and crazy, too. So nothing's really changed.
A hardcore show. So I went to see, I know it's not hardcore. It's a little bit more progressive, but I went to go see Billy Talent, but it was at the Loving Touch. So you got a small venue for a massive band in Detroit. I know not everyone.
Pool hall?
Yeah, the pool hall.
Yeah. In Ferndale, right?
These guys, like, you'll see 50,000 people at a German metal festival singing every single one of their songs. And then they come to Detroit, which everyone knows them because of 89X, because they were a Canadian import. And like 250 people are at that venue. I bought an extra pair of tickets. When they sold out, those tickets at resale were going upwards of $500. These tickets were $25. I gave them, I sold them at cost to a friend, and he paid for all my drinks that night. So
nice.
That was the upcharge. I bought an extra pair knowing somebody will want to go, like a friend or a couple or something like that, or extra friends. So I bought 4 tickets. So me, Julia, and then the 2 other people. And like I posted it on Facebook. 2 minutes later, they were claimed. I said, he looked up the prices because he's like, oh, they're on sale. Maybe I'll go buy them. And he went to go try to see what the resale was and told me what the resale was. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll just charge you the $25. And he's like, I'll cover your drinks. But for me, I don't know if it's necessarily the band. I think it's more the venue. I think the venue plays a bigger part as to what I'm drinking versus what I'm not drinking. Like if I'm going to Pine Knob or I'm going to somewhere that's like an outdoor venue, I'm probably going to want to drink something like a Leinenkugel, an Oberon, because you're outdoors, you're enjoying the weather. Like that's kind of the right. So it doesn't matter if I'm listening to, something heavy, something light. I think it's definitely more based on the venue than the music itself. What about you, Wendy?
Yeah, I guess it does depend on the music too. The venue has a lot to do with it because it's what's available. Yeah, I tend to go with lighter stuff when we're at the bigger shows. But I also am old now, so I don't sit in any general admission seats. Like the $25 seats just came out for all the shows this summer, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to get that. Like, there's some really good shows in there too, but I'm not sitting on the lawn at Pine Knob anymore. I need a seat. I need an awning. Like, I went to see Slipknot and not Slipknot, Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie on the Twins of Evil tour or whatever. And when Rob Zombie came on, this guy, we were at the bottom of the hill, and this guy like went crazy and totally just ran right into me with his full cup of beer and just soaked me. And it was it was very beginning, and it was Marilyn Manson, but it was October, so it's fucking cold. Now my sweatshirt's soaking wet. I smell like beer, and I was super cranky. Nope, I need a seat now. I get too cranky. I don't want to get in a fight with anybody.
Yeah,
real quick. Wendy, we already established Ken's the oldest person here. Because remember, he's going to be in his bathrobe in the garage after this, just sitting around.
That's true. Will you sit on the lawn though, Ken?
You guys, so I went to see the Newfound Glory, Simple Plan, Sum 41, Offspring, like back-to-back shows. One was at Sterling Heights, one was at Pine Knob. I had seats for both. Yeah, I was not fucking with the lawn.
See?
I already have a bad back. So that kind of stuff is just not going to do it for me. So I had
fallen down the hill one too many times, man.
I haven't fallen down the hill, but the last time I did go on the hill, I saw like bare naked ladies, and like just the angle that you're at is just such a weird angle when you're sitting, and you just can't get comfortable.
I have a really funny story about bare naked ladies at Pine Knob.
Okay, I was like the band or
yeah.
Yeah. So we went to see somebody else. It was like Matchbox 20 or something like that. And we sat on the hill, and the grass was beautiful. The next weekend, Marilyn Manson was there. The following weekend, the Bare Naked Ladies were there, and we went to see the Bare Naked Ladies. And there was no grass whatsoever on the hill. It was completely gone after that Marilyn Manson concert. I think that was the one where he actually got in trouble for putting his junk on a security guard.
I don't remember hearing that, but that's definitely believable. So
that's on brand.
When they would do that metal show at Pine Knob every year, where they would have like a couple stages and have a bunch of music playing, like that's usually when the lawn gets completely destroyed and messed up because they've got so many people there listening. But yeah, I'm with you. Like I want a seat. I don't want general admission. I got general admission for Billy Talent. I got in the pit. And I remember after one song, I'm like keeled over, out of breath, like how did I used to do this as a kid for hours at a Warped Tour?
Again, we're getting back to Ken's the oldest person here.
I mean, I don't like I definitely could see you in the pit, but not many people of our age are getting into the pit these days.
I disagree with that, especially if it's like a band from back in the day, like I was mentioning Anthrax, bands like that. It's people older than me getting in there.
I think that's more the reason why I got into the pit with Billy Talent. Like I'm the right age for that band at this time. Like that's your Anthrax. I mean, that's when all you Gen X and people went to go see them, is because that's the music you grew up with. Billy Talent's the music that I grew up with. Yeah, I mean, that was like 2002 is when they came out. That was 20 plus years. They're almost ready to get into the Hall of Fame, the Canadian Hall of Fame, obviously. The Juno Hall of Fame, Juno music. Rob, does a band change what you want to drink?
The venue would more than the band, I think. I don't get to many concerts. It's just not a thing I normally do. I have been tempted to go to Carb Day, which is the huge concert before the Indy 500, and this year it's George Thorogood is the headliner, with Gin Blossoms as the special guest. I don't know Kid Quill, but Kid Quill is also there.
Gin Blossoms seems so good.
So good.
I've seen the Gin Blossoms live. I think it was
I like Gin Blossoms.
I love the 90s tour. Go on.
Yeah, so it's what I'm interested in. But I have never done Carb Day even before. I've got friends who go every year, so I might just tag along with them because it seems like a lot of fun. He always sends me pictures of the most amazingly dressed people at Carb Day every year. I guess probably I need to explain that a little bit. This is Redneck, Indiana, at the Indy 500. So by most amazingly dressed, it is honestly the most trailer parky, I guess you're gonna get.
I was gonna say, how many people with flannels with the sleeves cut off can you possibly see there?
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of really small shorts on everybody. There's interesting sandals, and and people do go all out for it, like to really feed into stereotypes and such. So there's lots of groups out there devoted
to
they
intentionally dress like that, even if they don't.
Yes. Although I think some of the mullet havers are dressed like that all the time.
Well, we do have another question from Ryan in the chat off of our YouTube page. Again, if you're listening via the podcast, when we are live Friday nights at 8:30 p.m., you can catch us on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, X, Facebook, all at Better on Draft. As someone who lives in Texas, formerly Cali, wants to make a trip up to Ann Arbor in January. I have many questions as to why you're coming to Ann Arbor in January, because it ain't for football. What are some better local dark beers? Stouts, porters, cream ales. Ooh.
Which one is not like the other?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, those local dark cream ales definitely get you. So for Ann Arbor, the first place I would suggest, we can leave that up, is Blue Tractor. I always loved referencing Blue Tractor to come on. Amazing happy hour, amazing local brewery. You get, because they are a brew pub, you get very good brew pub vibes. So you're going to get very solid beers in there, very German, Belgian, your stouts, your porters, that kind of stuff. They are a specialty brewery, like their sister brewery, Jolly Pumpkin, which is all sours. After that, Mothfire is going to have amazing dark beers for you. They also do a lot of West Coast IPAs and New England IPAs and stuff over there, but they will get you the dark beers. Some of them will fuck you up because they're going to be 15, 16% beers. So you might want to just get cans for the hotel. Which Blue is not, it's not Blue Point. What's the name of that beer store? Blue Front. Blue Front's going to be your beer store over there in Ann Arbor to pick up singles and beers. They also do growlers to go. They're not a brewery. They just have a bunch of beers on keg to get growlers to go.
And Ken tends to haggle there with the owners.
I didn't haggle at Blue Front. I haggled at it was some podunk like Ipsy City beer store, like not the township, but the city. That's where I go for my stuff. I'm trying to think of like a beer camp. I took Dan to beer camp. There you have a really good beers, not very many beers. They only have, 3 or 4 at any given time, but they're usually like German style. So you're going to get like an ESB, an English mild, and alt beer, that kind of stuff over there. Other Ipsy Arbor, Ipsy Ale House is pretty good. Corner Brewery is pretty good. Plenty of great food over there. Wendy, I mean, you're over.
Corner Brewery is Arbor.
Yeah, Corner Brewery.
So it's the same beer that you're going to get at Arbor. Well, do they don't still have a...
They don't have the downtown. They just have
They don't have an Arbor tap room anymore.
Yeah.
Bats McGee mentioned Holmes. He said they don't always have stouts, but when they do, they're fantastic. I agree with that 100%. I always suggest people go to Holmes in Ann Arbor. I wonder what you mean by going through Ann Arbor. Like, are you going to areas around it, or are you just going to Ann Arbor for some time? Because there's a lot of breweries around the area. Drafting Table in Wixom has a porter I think it's a porter. It's a porter or stout called a Buzz Blanket. Most amazing beer I've ever had. It's a coffee. I think it's a coffee porter. So good. And I'm not sure when their barrel aged version of that comes out, but I'm pretty sure in January you should be able to get at least a regular Buzz Blanket. Ryan Clark mentions Dragon's Milk. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of that. Ascension, when they do stouts, they do it pretty well. They've got all their Gorilla Juice variants. So, but those are all outside of Ann Arbor, so you have to venture outside the city if you want to do that.
Yeah, Jolly Pumpkin is on my personal bucket list as one that I've wanted to go to for quite a while.
There's no Jolly Pumpkin's going to be all sours. So if you're not into sours, it's not going to be your place to go. He's going to be there for 3 days. Yeah. I mean, if you have a car, there's definitely plenty of places to go, or plenty of pockets of the area, like Drafting Table. You can get to Draft Horse. You can get to Ascension, which is all kind of in the same area. Canton Brewworks is up there. So yeah, you're going to be able to find plenty of breweries with that, stout type beer. I would like, I think Bats McGee says Holmes. I mean, Holmes is going to be a coin flip if you go there. It's most likely going to be all New England IPAs and sours.
Is Knoll still open?
Is what?
No. That's the one that's the Jolly Pumpkin. It's Jolly Pumpkin. There's like 3 ones that are all together.
There's North Peak.
It's North Peak, Jolly Pumpkin,
Grizzly Peak, Blue Tractor.
No.
I don't know what else.
This isn't Dexter. It's called No, but it's a Jolly Pumpkin, North Peak, and something else. It's all 3 of them in one tap room, and it's called Knoll Tap House.
Oh,
and it's in Dexter.
It's where Jolly Pumpkin's brew house is.
So they... I believe that it's actually a North Peak is the cream ale, but it's delicious.
Yeah, there's plenty of different spots out in Ann Arbor. Again, Blue Front is going to be your best place for drinking with your friends at the house. I'm trying to think of the name of there's a handful of really good tap rooms out there in Ann Arbor too. That you're going to be able to find to get to, try the different Michigan beers or beers that you can get in Michigan. So that's kind of our suggestion. Again, we don't have too many like stout houses or porter houses in this area. You're going to get a lot of true to style venues, sour venues, and IPA venues. But yeah, I would say Mothfire is probably going to be your best bet. For beer, as well as Blue Tractor. Null's going to be great just because of all the different facilities that they have. Bats McGee does say, which is the one thing that I do love about Holmes, their coffee cream ale is really fucking good. So if you do go to Homes, they'll have that there. I think Hearsay will probably be open by then, but I don't know what kind of beers they're going to have. But as Muttbone says, just download the Michigan Brewery Map app, free for your iOS and Android. It tells you where every single brewery is in the state of Michigan when they open. And of course, if they serve food, if they're dog friendly, and if they serve other types of things like wine, spirits, cider, etc. So definitely go check that out. We're going to be closing up shop here in just a few minutes. Thank you for everyone joining. I see we got 40 live viewers right now, which is ridiculous. Love seeing it. Whoever said to move the show to 8:30 was a great decision. It was definitely not me. It's probably Dan, but he's muted because he pulled a Ken. Chris Connor saying MBMA is a great app. I agree, especially the people who made it. It's basically like you can find every single brewery within the state itself. Dan said his mic is broken, so we could talk all the shit we want to talk about Dan right now. He can hear us, but he can't respond.
He knows a gesture.
He knows the gesture. He can give us the one finger salute. He's just gonna type in the chat to everyone. Oh gosh. So we've got our episode tomorrow with Arctic Circle. We might be doing a fun little episode here soon with the Rochester Mills team. But with that in mind, anything else that we wanted to talk about today? I did check out some AI to see if we could find some topics to talk about today. None of them good. So I'm glad AI is not going to take our job anytime soon. Because they were like, what's the hot takes on recent craft beer releases? I don't have any takes on any beer releases.
It's exciting when they
I do have
beer.
a quick question for everybody.
All right.
So a couple weeks ago, let's see, who is it? Beer Aficionado on.
Was that Chris Belkey,
I don't
right?
know if it was on. Yeah. He's from Revolution.
Revolution. Yep.
Yeah. So I've had a reel come across my feed that was the top 10 most checked in beers on Untappd. And I wanted to ask you guys your opinion on this because I'm going to read out the 10 and tell me what you think is wrong with this picture. Number 10 is Zombie Dust. Number 9 is PBR. Number 8 is Sam Adams Oktoberfest. 7 is Big Wave by Kona. 6 is Two Hearted. 5 is Modelo Especial. 4 is Coors Light. 3 is Yingling. 2 is Miller Lite. And 1 is Guinness. What is wrong with this picture?
Yeah, that's a lot of macros. And so there is one user on Untappd who's kind of famous because Guinness is the only beer he checks into, and he checks into every one that he drinks. So his Untappd feed is just I can't remember when he passed like 10,000 check-ins or whatever, but it's all Guinness because he lives right there. So he's kind of legendary.
There's like they're in Ireland or they're.
Yeah, they're in Dublin. Yeah.
Oh, see, now that I would probably do that. That would be funny.
Yeah.
There's a few that I've seen on the Pilsnerish Discord and Facebook page where like the same guy checks in Miller Lite every time he drinks a Miller Lite. And he's got like 5,000 check-ins. It's one beer, one different, like that's it. That's the only beer is Miller Lite, and it's 5,000 check. And there's photos too. So it's not like he's just trolling or anything. He's literally drinking these Miller Lights awesome. and going through. I remember when Untappd was doing their
badges,
like March draftness, and they would talk about like, you know, the amount of check-ins per brand for a specific week, and that's how they kind of like went through the process. So like Anheuser-Busch would be one of the top ones, and Guinness would be one of the top ones, and Miller Coors. So it's not surprising that a lot of people who utilize Untappd, I think they want their their badges and all that stuff.
There's venue stuff that happens there too.
Yeah, venue stuff. I remember I used to check in every single Amberbach I would drink at Mad Club when I was hanging out with Dan during my lunch time.
That's a good beer.
I drink a pitcher of it and I'd check it in 5 times.
What about the beer towers at what was that bar on?
On the Rocks used to do beer towers.
Rocks,
yeah. gosh, I saw a beer tower at a bowling alley last year, and I'm like, holy shit, these things still exist. It almost seems like just an entirely different world these days when people do like these beer towers, because nobody does that anymore.
Was that World of Beer that brings those out? It's the huge tap that they put on your...
Yeah, like it's like a 2-liter tap that goes to the ceiling. Yeah. I know it doesn't go to the ceiling, but
right.
How they fill that up blows my mind too, because I could just see like some tiny ass waitress trying to fill it up, like holding it up to the yeah, try not to break it. I don't know what Toots McGee is saying. Toots McCrog, not Toots McGee.
That's his password. Don't call it out.
Is it really? Probably.
No, I don't think so.
Why would you?
I don't know. We're gonna put it out there.
He's trying.
He's gonna have to change his password.
If you're gonna want to log into anything from Toots McCrog, that's his password. Kingsgate. So that's Guinness. So that's obviously the person who's checking in Guinness all the time.
Yeah. I mean, he's got our back looking up information for us, and you're putting his password up on the screen.
He's the engineer we never asked for. He's what we wanted Tara to be back in episode 5,
geez.
Dan.
Good times.
Oh my gosh. All right. That's going to do it. Better on Draft episode 346. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be off from being live next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Terrapin. That's right. We've got Brian Bukowski, aka Spike, coming in here to talk about that. And then we also have a New Zealand brewery, which we'll be bringing in here in, I guess that would be 4 weeks now, since we're on every other week. Stay tuned. Wendy, are you going to be at World Expo of Beer in 2 weeks?
I don't know yet. I'm working on it.
All right. Well,
it's a really busy weekend because my parents are coming home. So,
well, if we are there, make sure to say hi. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, take your notes, guys. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's better on draft. Have a good night.
Cheers.